Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Kitchen Science Cooks. I'm so glad you went ahead and stopped by today to go ahead and see what we're working on. So today on the channel, I've got something super special for you. Let's go ahead and jump into it real quick. Beautiful, delicious, umptuous, hand-cut pork tenderloin steaks. Stay tuned. So this is a pork butt. I got this at my local Sam's Club. You'll notice if you look down here, it was $2.28 a pound. I've got almost $20 worth of meat here. Now, the interesting thing about these is that there's a bone running all the way through. It starts here, and it ends up sitting over here by about this side right here. So the first cut we're going to go ahead and get is going to be the money muscle side, which has got all of this beautiful meat and marbling and a couple of fat veins running through here. So we're going to cut that guy off at around 1 inch to 1.25 inches. And then the remainder of these, we're going to try to go ahead and keep around that 1.5 inches, maybe 1.25 inches cut. But we're also going to go ahead and utilize the bandsaw. Now, I do have an electric bandsaw that I usually run through a lot of these, but it's still out of commission. So what I did was I grabbed a hacksaw, I went ahead and changed the blade on it, and we're going to end up using that today to go ahead and cut through this bone. All right, so here's our pork shoulder, and the way that it sits, it actually sits on the animal kind of like this. So we've got the hoof end that would come down here, and then we've got the other end that sort of sits more closer to the chest right here. So what we want to go ahead and do, we want to go ahead and get into this money muscle area. And if you kind of feel right here and you get your fingers in here, you can kind of feel where the bone is. We know that it's sitting from about here to about here on this side. So we know we can get a good, nice chunk out of this piece right here. So I'm going to literally just take my knife, measure somewhere around about 1.5 inches plus, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop this guy off. And this is what I'm looking for. And if I get a little bit more feel right in here, you can feel that muscle sitting next to that bone. So it ends up going right about there. So this piece right here in Europe, I know this because I lived in Europe for a while, they will take these pieces, they will go ahead and cut them down to make less than 1 inch cuts or somewhere around 3/4 inch cut. And they will sell this as something called an entrecote, and they're delicious. I've eaten tons of them. They're really, really good. So if I wanted to just take this, heavy season it, throw it on my grill, and let it slow cook on that high heat direct cook method that we talked about last week, this is a perfect prime candidate to go ahead and do that. Or I can take this guy, I can go ahead and cut him down, cut them lengthwise again in those 2 millimeter, about 3/4 inch strips, and then I can go ahead and sear them off in a pan. I can put them on a regular grill like the Weber grill that we sometimes like to show on the channel. But again, this is the money muscle. This has so many wonderful different fat lines running through it, some great marbling and some different muscles that are sitting in here, so that if you ever have the chance to buy one of these and you want to go ahead and you want to make some pork butts, or you want to go ahead and do some pulled pork, cut this piece off first and then utilize the rest of it for your pulled pork. These things are fantastic on the grill. Okay, so as I said, I still want to go ahead and cut these guys to be about 1.5 inches thick. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to measure about 1.5 inches, and I'm going to start to cut all the way down. Okay, you'll notice I'm able to get almost all the way through. Then I get to the little end right here and I find a bone. And unfortunately, while my Masahiro is a fantastic knife, I'm not going to be able to get all the way through that. So what I end up doing is that I end up getting an actual sawing blade. So this is a Milwaukee 12-inch plus handsaw. These blades are able to be switched. So what I did was I went ahead and I got a food grade blade that I could pop on here, and then I could utilize in this. Now, normally the food grade blade I would get would be somewhere around a 4 tooth per inch, but unfortunately, this guy is sitting at 12 teeth per inch. It's going to go ahead and work, but it's going to take a little bit more time. So what we want to do is get as close to that bone as we can, and on this guy, the bone is literally right here. So all I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up taking my blade and cutting through right there. Let me bring you in a little bit closer so you can see what we're doing. So here we go. We're going to take our blade. And that's pretty much that. Now, this is that last little piece of blade on here. Honestly, I could go ahead and just take this and lob it off like so, which I'm going to go ahead and do. So this isn't going to be that big of a deal. But what you want to go ahead and make sure that you know now is you just went ahead and cut bone, even though the bone was nice and small. So you want to give this area a rinse and make sure that you get any bone dust that's sitting on the meat off. So all I'm going to do is end up taking these. I'm going to run them under some water. I'm going to kind of rub my fingers off to make sure that any of that fine bone material that would normally be there is gone. And then we're going to add this back to our pile. So let's go ahead and let's get on with the rest of these cuts. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our next cut. This one's, I'm going to go ahead and go for something a little closer to 1.25 inches. And I hit the bone right here. Okay, so you can see my bone is sitting right there. So I'm going to take my blade and I'm just ever so gently just going to cut straight down as I can. And then I'm going to feel around. Yep, it's going still pretty good, but I want to go ahead and cut this all the way through so that I can see everything that I'm doing. So I like to flip them over just so that I can see exactly where everything is happening. So if you look right here, I see my bone sitting right in there. So upside down, I'm going to then take my saw. And if you look right here, you'll notice I've cut just about all the way through it. So I'm through the bone. Now I'm going to take the rest of my knife. I'm going to end up cutting all the way through. And then you'll notice I got that lovely piece right there. And if you see all this red right here, this is the bone dust stuff that I'm talking about. So we want to make sure that we capture all this, get it off of there so that we don't end up eating it. Now with our last piece, I still want to go ahead and I want to get a good chunk out of here. You'll notice it's over 2 inches thick. So I'm going to start here. There we go. We're all the way through. So there we go. There's our pork steaks. They're ready to go ahead and be cleaned. We're going to go ahead and cryovac a couple of them, throw them in the freezer, and the other ones we're going to go ahead and we're going to pop in the egg. So let's go ahead and get to our seasoning montage, and then we'll get these guys on the egg. All right, everybody, it's time to go ahead and show you what we're going to be working with today. If you remember, we went ahead and chopped that pork butt all up. And there she is. So we're working on 2 pork butts today. We're going to cover it in a little bit of Cholula hot sauce. We're going to go really, really simple with our seasoning. We're just using equal parts of salt and pepper. And just as we built last time, we've got a grill grate sitting here. It's sitting on top of our broken fire ring. And we've got about 2 inches of charcoal sitting here at the bottom. Fogo, of course, only the best. Let me show you what that looks like. Now we want to go ahead and get this guy lit. We're going to light it in 3 different parts. That way our charcoal bed is nice and even. So our coals are lit. We're going to go ahead and shut the top. We're going to crack the top open just a little bit. Going to make sure our bottoms open up all the way. I'm looking for this guy to show about 300 to 350 degrees. Let's go ahead and let's season up our pork. So here's our simple salt and pepper. So our pepper's going in and our salt's going in. Shake it up. All right, we've got our 2 beautiful pork steaks. You notice we've got the bone in here. And then this one was the money muscle side. We went ahead and cut first. And then this is a little snack that I'm going to want to eat while I'm sitting on here. So let's go ahead and get some Cholula on here. And, you know, a good tablespoon and a half is probably plenty. You're more along the lines using this not only for flavor, but as a binder as well. So I get it on there. I'm going to get this guy on there. Flip these guys over. Should get the sides the way the sides taste good. Okay, great. Now we're going to go ahead and take our seasoning. That cracked flesh, tail cherry pepper, that stuff is awesome. It smells so good. There we go. Make sure we get the sides. All right. Give it a good pat too. Make sure that it's all in there. Now we're going to let this guy sit until our egg comes up to temperature. So the egg's up to temp. We're sitting right around 315 degrees. So unlike last time when we went ahead and utilized this, instead of putting it around the center like I did before, or around the perimeter like I did before, and burning a few back here, we're going to try to go ahead and keep them all sitting right here so that we get a convection of heat to pop up here, hit the dome, cyclone forward, and just keep going all the way, while at the same time getting all of our bits of fat to go ahead and drop down, hit those coals, again, cause that fatty acid profile to explode, have all of that, those wonderful aromatics pop up and bathe the meat. We're going to keep doing it over and over and over again. And if you guys don't remember or don't recall in the last video, I said our cooking grate's about 13 inches above the coals, and that's really what we want. I mean, if I could get a little bit higher, I would, but the egg, this is about as high as I could go. Maybe I could get another inch to lift up just a little bit. Maybe I could find another one of those racks to stick in here. If you guys want to see that, go ahead and pop a comment down below that you want to see that, and I'll go ahead and I'll set that up as a future cook. But anyways, let's go ahead and get on it. Guy there, Put our money muscle big guy there. We're going to go ahead and let these guys go, and we're going to come back and we're going to check on them in about half hour, 45 minutes. You'll notice this guy's closer to 2 inches, where this one's around one and a half. And then we've got a little snack we have sitting right here. So it's possible, depending on temp, that I'll pull this guy off first, but I don't know. We're going to see how it works. But I'm going to go ahead and take you with me all the way through so that you guys can go ahead and you can do this at home yourselves. Let's go ahead and let them cook. All right, everyone, for just a fun little bit more flavor, we're going to go ahead and pop a chunk of oak in here. We're going to let it catch on the coals from the radiant heat from up top, and we're going to let it go ahead and smoke up and give us a bunch more smoke. All right, everybody, it's time. You'll notice we're just above 300 degrees. It's been 30 minutes. Let's check these guys out. Oh, yeah, that is beautiful. That's exactly what we're looking for. Let's put it back on. Flip this one over. That is so nice. Look at that. Look at the nice caramelization we're getting so far. And now let's check out the big guy here. See where the big guy's sitting at. Oh yeah, look at how beautiful that is. This one I gotta pick up. That one's fantastic. So there we go, we're a half hour in, we're 310 degrees. Our Cholula rubbed, salt and peppered, hand-cut pork steaks look fantastic. Let's go ahead and let them go for another half hour, and then we'll come out and we will check them. All right, everybody, let me walk you through what's going on here. It's been about an hour, and you'll notice that I went ahead and I wrapped up the smaller piece. The smaller piece at about 210. A little higher than I want, but I put a bunch of butter in there, wrapped them up. We're gonna let them soften up. The larger piece got to be about where I wanted. Now this is the one that was a little bit thinner with the bone in that I said that we may need to go ahead and modify a bit. It got up to 171. I threw in 2 ounces of butter and I wrapped them up and let them finish till it's about 195. This guy over here, he's rendering beautifully, okay? He's sitting around 145 degrees. I'm gonna let him keep going. I want to get as much bark on there, look at that, as I can. We want all that extra juice there to go ahead and continue to keep rendering and rendering and rendering and mixing into the meat and whatever's left to end up going down into our fire, which we see down there. So this is where we're sitting. We're gonna let this go for probably another half an hour. And I'm gonna check this guy, probably pull him off, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull this guy off probably in the next 10 minutes. All right, everybody, so we're done on this guy. It's been an hour and a half. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pull him off. You'll notice he is super, super tender. Now, you don't really want these guys to go in this much, but you know what? It came out just so well that I just let him go, and we're gonna let him set up, and we're gonna let him see if we can cut him into steaks, and if not, then we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna enjoy it. Now, as far as this guy goes, he's sitting around 175. I just flipped him over. He's got a great crust sitting on this side of him. I'm gonna try to go ahead and get more of a crust on that side. So I'm gonna let him sit. I'm gonna pull him off at 195, hit him with butter. I'm gonna wrap him in foil, and then we're just gonna let him sit. Let them carry over, cook a bit, and then we're going to slice on in. So I'll be back in half an hour. All right, everybody, let's check it out. Ooh, this looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and take a temp. Ooh. Well, my thermometer just died, but this looks nice and tender. Oh, yeah. It's temping through really, really well all the way through. So I think we're probably pretty good here. Let's go ahead and get some foil. Let's get some butter. Go ahead and wrap it up and let it rest. All right, everyone, so let's run through what we did. We grabbed pork butt at Sam's Club. It was $2.28 a pound. We had somewhere about $20 worth of pork. We went ahead and we grabbed a 12 tooth blade. We attached it to our by hand hacksaw, and we went ahead and we cut through the bones as we portioned the pork butt. What I can tell you is this: the thicker the pork butts, the better they're going to work out. So for my money, we have 1 1/4 inch and a 2-inch pork butt. I think the 2-inch pork butt's probably going to taste a little bit better because it was able to stay on the egg much longer, and it was able to get deeper bark that's a lot thicker for a lot longer time. So I'm going to recommend right off the bat that we go ahead and we cut these guys at least 2 inches thick, around 5 centimeters, if not thicker than that. So that's number one. Number two, it was great how it worked with the bone. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But all three of them came out really, really well. We even had a little straggler piece that ended up being just a little bit too small and ended up cooking just a little bit too fast. We're going to go ahead and start with that one. If you remember, I said that the temp hit 210. And that's going to be this guy right here. So to save it a little bit, I went ahead and popped it in foil, cooked a little bit more of that fat around it so that it softened up a little bit. It's okay. It's not the greatest. It does fall apart. It is pretty juicy, but then again, that's all from that fat. So let's get it out. Let's go ahead and give her a cut. Ooh, that actually looks pretty good. Cuts really, really nice. Let's go ahead and try this out. Let's see how the little guy was. You know, surprisingly, this little guy is delectable. The salt, the pepper is great. The smoke is fantastic. We get a tiny little smoke ring here. That hot sauce is almost perfect. It's just a little bit of sourness and a little bit of heat that matches really, really well. So these little bits like this, that nice smoked flavor, they are delicious. Let's go ahead and try our bone-in guy that was a little bit too thin. And he definitely broke down nice. Bone takes a little bit of muscle to pull out, which is kind of a good thing, right? Because when you cook one of these, you don't really want it to be that cooked through. You don't want it to be super soft. So cut them in half. Oh yeah, that's a nice looking smoke ring there. Let's cut this guy in half. Yeah, this came out pretty good. It's not super juicy, right? This end is. But we got a decent smoke ring on there. Let's see how this end is. Now look at that. That's what we're looking for right there. All that fat, that nice smoke ring. Got tons of juice on it. Pulls apart, no problem. Let's go ahead and let's try this out. This is amazing. All that fat is just amazing. It's so soft. It's rendered perfectly. I could eat this all day. It cuts through really well. It's a little dry, but oh, I think this is what you want a pork steak to be like. The crust is amazing. It's nice and juicy. There's a ton of smoke flavor here. The sourness from the Cholula comes through really well. All right, last but not least, let's try our big guy. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's nice and flexible. Oh yeah. This guy came out like, this is amazing. Let's go ahead and just give a cut right through it. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at all that juice we got in there. It's nice and squishy, nice and soft. Got a decent smoke ring on it. It's not the best smoke ring, but it's pretty good. Let's go ahead and try it out. Slices. It slices like it's supposed to. It slices like a steak. So this is great. Let's go ahead and put it chunk together. Look at that. Okay. The ones I made last week were great. They got great bark on them. They're a little dry. What I took from that experience was what to do and what not to do. And this is a perfect example of what to do. Great smoke ring, nice and juicy, not overcooked, not falling apart. We're not really getting any pieces here. You'll notice I'm trying to pull it apart. It's not. We pulled this off at the right time. I pulled this off at 195 degrees, and you can tell that I did. Look at that. Look at all that fat. Look at all that juice in there. Look at all that smoke ring. Oh my God, that's so good. All right, everyone, so you know what I thought? Let's go ahead and see what another member of my family thinks. Let's see what my 8-year-old thinks. Go ahead and try this.
Okay.
Tell me what you think. Is that good?
Oh my God, yeah.
All right, so again, this is another 8-year-old approved cook. All right, everybody, so my final thoughts on pork steaks. They're probably just as good, if not better than they were on the last video that I went ahead and put up for you. I do think that it is worth cutting the pork steaks at least 2 inches thick. I definitely think it's worth spending a few dollars to go ahead and get the right blade to go ahead and utilize on a hacksaw so that you can cut the bone through these guys. That 2-inch thick and that Cholula binder and the salt and pepper, it is fantastic. It is definitely something that you want to try. And as you can see here, even after 2 hours, we got an amazing cook out of this. And it wasn't that long. It literally took 2 hours. If I factor in the prep time for the egg, I'm under 3 hours. So this is a great quick cook that you can go ahead and put on under your belt that your family and your friends will go ahead and love. Anyways, if you guys like this kind of content, please go ahead and smash that like button. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave them down below in the comments. And if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. If you come here every week and you see what we're doing here and you like it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It lets YouTube know that we're putting out quality content that you and potentially other people may like. And as again, thank you guys for all the love and support that I'm getting from all of my subscribers and everyone that's watching. It means the world to me. And if you guys feel the need to and you want to drop a comment down below to tell me what you think, or you want to hit that subscribe button if you're new here, please go ahead and do so. And as always, have a fantastic barbecue week.